All right, so last Friday night, I'm watching basketball. It's probably like 11 o'clock at night. Michelle's asleep. The kids are asleep, both upstairs. And I'm watching TV, and I see a glimpse of something in my eye. Like something, just like a flash of something. And I looked over, and it was gone. And I was like, okay, I might be going crazy, right? You know, have you ever had that happen? No. Okay, well, I saw and I was like, okay, well, you know what? I looked around, I didn't see it anymore, so I ignored it. About 5 minutes later, I see it again. And I'm like, okay, something bad is happening to me, or there's something in the house. There's something going on. Then all of a sudden, I see this, looks like a bird, but closer inspection, it's a bat.
Ugh.
And it's flying around. It's going through the living room, to the kitchen, through the hallway, through the den, and coming and just doing loops in the house. And it's just constantly flying. It's like 11 o'clock at night. Michelle's asleep. Kids are asleep upstairs. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So I got a blanket. I mean, you have to understand, like I'm not prepared for this.
Yeah, I don't know what you go for, a blanket or like a fishing net.
I don't have a fishing net. And so I was like, and also I'm not dressed for this, by the way. I don't know if you are fully dressed when you're hanging around your house at 11 o'clock at night watching basketball, but I'm not dressed properly. So I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to try and get it. And I went and got a blanket, and I come back downstairs, and I'm looking for it, and I see it. And it's so disorienting. Like, if you've ever had a bird fly at you, it's just so like, I don't know how to explain it. It's it just messes with your mind, and it feels so fast. And then I see it, and it goes upstairs. And I'm like, oh no. Now I was dealing with it downstairs, which is like just me. And now all of a sudden it's upstairs, and everyone's asleep. So I didn't know what to do. So I go upstairs, and I'm looking around. I go to Brady's room. It's not in there. I go to Michelle's, or our room, and I see Michelle sleeping, and it's not in there. I go to Leo's room, and it's in his room.
Ugh.
And it's just circling his room and going around and around in circles. So I close the door. Because I wanted to trap it.
You just
right?
closed the door and went to bed?
So I trapped it. And then I went in there, I flipped on the lights, and I was like, Leo, wake up. And he kind of like is half asleep, and he's like looking up, and he sees it, and he just starts laughing at it. He's like just like laughing hysterically like an insane person, honestly. I think he's like half asleep. And it's going around and around. I thought he was going to scream. He didn't. And going around, and I took the blanket, and I just grabbed it. It fell to the ground. I scooped it up, and I have it in my hands, and I can hear all the crazy noises it's making, because it's making these like...
You're holding it like bare hand?
No.
Oh.
Or the blanket around it, right?
Good.
And I was like, oh my gosh. So then I take it downstairs, take it outside. I put it out on the deck, and then I see it get up, and it leaves. And I felt pretty proud of myself.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Well, yeah. And I mean, to be honest, I was pretty scared of this thing. I just didn't want to get rabies or something crazy.
I think technically that level of contact makes you like you probably need one of those 10-inch needles in your stomach.
Don't say that. But anyway, yeah, it was just, I mean, you talk about ruining your like Friday night chill, relaxing time.
Oh yeah.
Everything changed.
I'm waiting on a segue, how we segue this into new advisor sales training.
You know, it takes getting out of your comfort zone sometimes. It takes trying something new and just going for it. But, it's funny. The next morning I told Michelle all about it, and she was like, oh, okay. I'm like, no. This is a pretty big deal. Like,
She gave you that? Yeah, fine. Like you're retelling some dream you had?
Yes.
Your life was in danger.
No, I was dealing with this thing for like 30 minutes. So anyway, that's my bad story. This is a series for financial advisors. We offer easy to implement marketing and practice management advice. This is the Stephen and Kevin Show.
Well, welcome back, everybody. Episode number 120 of the Stephen and Kevin Show. Today, contrary to how we started, we are talking about six. What will we call it, Kevin? 6 pieces of advice, 6 tips for new advisors.
For new advisors, yeah. Like we do a lot of new advisor training, right? We've been doing it for years and years, and what we thought we would do with this episode is we each come to the table with 3 ideas or 3 recommendations for new advisors.
Yeah, we were talking about this the other day. We got into new advisor training almost 20 years ago, and the reasoning was, or part of the reasoning was, when Kevin and I started, Matt Oxley, he was doing a lot of the what would you call it? Top producer training. The firms would have him come out. He would do the circle of such and such, and
Circle
he'd
of
have
success.
the top 25, the top 50 of different firms. And he was like, well, you guys need to be doing some training, but you are real green. Like what, you're 22, 23 years old. You are going to become the new advisor trainers.
And we started writing an article for wealthmanagement.com, right? Remember, we wrote Fast Track for Growth. It was a regular article published in their on their website.
Yeah. So, we're still doing it, right? We started then, we're still doing it. And it's a lot of fun because you take people who have tremendous backgrounds, and more we're seeing this. People that come in as a second career, people that come in from great universities who have all the tools, but just need a little bit of a shortcut in terms of what activities they should do, which ones they should avoid, what they should say, what they shouldn't say. There's a lot of bad information out there for new advisors, a lot of things that might have worked 30 or 40 years ago that don't work anymore. But when you can give somebody a roadmap and say, like, look, here's how other people have done it in a really successful way. We're going to share with you that roadmap. You love seeing it happen. You love seeing it, them, go from year 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, and all of a sudden they're the big success story.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so, we were in our early 20s at that point, right out of grad school, and we started training new advisors. And then we've been doing it for quite some time now, and we're about to run a whole new series for new advisors internally.
Yeah, so today we thought we'd have a little bit of fun sharing tips, going back and forth. I've got 3, Kevin's got 3, and Kevin.
Okay, so we're going to get into 3 recommendations today for new advisors. I have 3, you have 3. Hopefully they don't overlap. They might.
We shall see.
Yeah. So the first one that I want to throw out here is the idea of social prospecting. And this is one that a lot of new advisors know about, right? I need to go out and start approaching people I already know about business. And how do I go about doing that? And the thing that I want to recommend today is that social prospecting starts internally. It starts with you and your belief in what you do, right? If you're going to go out and just use some script on everyone, I don't think it's going to be as effective as if you can mentally say, you know what, I really believe in what we're providing. I know we're adding value, and I have that courage. And I almost feel bad for someone who's not working with us. And that was, I remember one of our coaches, Bill Francavella, he shared that with us years ago, and he said that everything changed for him when he started feeling sorry for someone who wasn't working for him because he knows that he does such a good job. So, and I was giving a presentation recently to a group of advisors, new advisors up in Canada, and we were talking about social prospecting and approaching people, and this advisor said, why would anyone even want to meet with me? And I was like, well, this is a prime example of someone who doesn't have a really strong belief in what they do yet.
Yeah, well, and we see it. And this is not, you're like, oh, tip number 1, network, which is exactly what you would get if you typed it into ChatGPT. No. What should I do as a new advisor? You should network.
Right.
But there's a world of difference between generally being around in the community and being a really successful social prospector, right? You pointed out the mindset. I think the volume is huge. I was on a trip recently with someone in the insurance space, and they were saying, a lot of people say you should network. You should get involved in this group. They already have people in my biz. I don't know why you would do that. And I'm like, no. Like, you need to be doing that in a big, big way, especially if you're newer in the business. I remember we used to say when we were in the early days of running the new advisor training, we would say, you're acting as if you're running for mayor. Like, you want to meet everybody you possibly can. Like, being out of the office as much as humanly possible. Yeah, business networking groups can work, but we're thinking more of like naturally getting involved in things that interest you, whether it's through exercise, kid sports, whatever you're into. Get heavily involved, meet people that way, and it's going to turn into more business than sitting around the office cold calling.
And then going into those groups with confidence, but also strategic intent, right? Going into those groups knowing that I am going to approach some people. I am going to get turned away. There's going to be rejection. It's part of it. But I'm going to try, right? I'm going to try and convert some of these social contacts into business opportunities.
Love it. My first one, tracking activity. And I know this is fairly common sense, especially if you look back to yesteryear when it was all cold calling, it was all door knocking, tracking you had to, right? How many of these things am I doing every day, every week, every month? Nowadays, it's a little bit harder with warmer prospecting in that when you're tracking networking, how do you how do you track that?
Right.
Like, how do you track referral generation or introductions or centers of influence? But there are little subsets of that. How many times per day, per week, per month are you out of the office in front of people at a function?
Yeah.
How many times have you asked for the business? How many times have you called a new COI? These are all trackable activities. We don't think you ought to track 50. You might track 5 that are really, really meaningful to you, but we do think tracking is important and sharing that tracking with other people.
Yeah.
Your spouse, your teammates, your manager, your coach, somebody else. Like, you want other people to know these metrics and you want to be held accountable. You want to embrace the accountability.
Yeah, and the idea is that you track the right activities, and you know that if you execute those activities on a regular basis, it will lead to the results, right? And what we typically do is just track the results. Hey, new clients, new households, new assets, those types of things. And you're saying, no, track the activities that lead to the results.
Yeah, track the leading indicators.
Yes.
Like, I mean, we don't have any secret sauce here. You could certainly take some of our the advice we're giving you here, but you could ask around your office. You can find a list of activities that you're reasonably sure, if I do enough of these, they're going to work. No different. We always make the parallel to exercise. If you do enough jogging, you do enough weightlifting, your body's going to respond. No different than marketing your financial services practice.
Yeah, if you want to get better at anything, you start tracking it more. And I like your point, Stephen, about not tracking too many things. I remember an advisor I worked with early on, and he loved the idea of tracking activities, and he sent me his Excel spreadsheet, and it had like 30 activities. Like, one of his activities was just tracking activities. It was so much,
I've
too
seen
much.
it. We had an advisor tracking what time he got into the office every day.
Right.
And at some points, it can be an avoidance mechanism. Like, in a good way, tracking can be good. You got 5 activities. They're super high profile. In another way, you're tracking 35, including, did you work out? What time did you get up this morning? Some of that stuff. You're tracking some of those to avoid the really hard ones.
Yeah.
Like, you're showing up with a lot of points, but they're not really the tough ones.
Yeah, that's a great point. I like it. So, tracking activity, a big part of new advisor success. The next one I have on here, a recommendation, is a little newer age. And it might be a little controversial for some financial advisors, or especially from more senior advisors. And that's the idea of video marketing. The idea that I can create, content and share it, through video, which is super humanizing, basically position myself as an expert, right, in a field, and then getting that out there, whether I'm posting it through different social networks, or I think one of the big opportunities right now is through YouTube and being searchable, being findable, thinking about what are the common questions that my target market asks on a regular basis. How do I create content, for YouTube, optimize it for search, for those particular search terms, and start putting that content out there. I think yes, you can find new people can find you, but I also think it's going to help with some of the social prospecting too. I think it's going to help with some of these people that you know already in the community who start seeing you and thinking of you a little differently just because you're creating consistent quality video content.
Well, the perception for those in your circles is that you're new to this profession.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, let's say you're a financial advisor and you're brand new, you get into that line of work. If I know you, I'm a little skeptical.
Sure.
Like, I'm like, well, let's see how this turns out for him. He might not be in this business a year from now. Or maybe at minimum, I'm thinking, he's a little green. Like, he's...
Right. How much does he really
If you were going to gauge, all right, do I work with this person who has no experience or this person who's got 5 to 10 years of experience? I'll probably go with the one that's more experienced.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can change that perception with video content.
Right.
And I think sometimes you might be thinking as a naysayer, you might say, well, look, I got to put points on the board today. I've got to sell today or I'm out of a job tomorrow. Not that extreme, but you get my point. How do I justify doing video marketing as something it's not that linear? It's not cold calling and getting business done. It's not that linear. Well, your point is it's amplifying all the other things that you're doing. It's changing perceptions of those around you, especially if you're coming across, I don't care if you're a month into the business. If I watch your video and I'm like, dang, Kevin's pretty sharp. Like,
right.
He understands or explains some concepts that my advisor has never talked to me about.
That's right.
Like, that has meaning.
And I think that's an opportunity for newer advisors who maybe are a little bit more tech savvy, who, kind of, again, getting out of their comfort zone and trying something different.
Yeah, think about the advice that we gave about becoming the mayor. You want everybody around to know who you are. You're shaking hands, kissing babies, whatever that saying is.
Yeah.
You can amplify that through digital marketing because you're putting your video in the palms of people all over the place. So if the same end result is what you're after, you want everybody to know who you are. You want them to have some aspect of like, I like this person and I respect what they're doing. You can achieve that in person and through digital.
I saw this meme on LinkedIn the other day, and it was, a person who looked kind of sad on, imagine like kind of a line down the middle. On one side, it showed them and it said, my video only got 300 views, right? And it was like, they're kind of sad. Then on the other half of the image, they showed your video got 300 views, and it shows a person speaking in front of 300 people, like a big audience.
Yeah.
And we forget that, right? We think that, that perception of online, and it has to be, gosh, well, I need, thousands and thousands and thousands of views and subscribers and this and that. I mean, it's funny. My son Leo the other day was like, you guys have a YouTube channel? How many subscribers do you have? And I was like, well, we have a little over 4,000 subscribers right now. And he was like, oh my gosh, that's it. Like laughing. I'm like, no. That's like 4,000 financial advisors who've subscribed to our YouTube channel, which is for us, imagine presenting to that many people.
Yeah.
So you're getting that message out. I think it's an opportunity, and I think if you can do it the right way, it's not going to take too much of your time to create this video content. So,
got it. What number are we on?
4.
4. My fourth one is to ask for advice, and I think this happens in a couple of ways. Sometimes when we have a lot of pride in what we do, maybe there's a little bit of ego there. We're reluctant to ask other people for advice. And I think it's really important both to ask senior team members of yours, others in your office, other advisors that you meet in the community. I think asking them for advice is a way to speed your learning curve. What activities do you use to grow? Mm-hmm. What do you say in this situation? How would you handle this client whose investments are this or that? Like, asking other people and doing it consistently is a way to speed your learning curve.
Yeah, I love that. And in a way to build more relationships too.
Yeah, as opposed to going in like with ego of like, I got this. Oh, right. I went to this school, or I used to do this for work. I have that. No, it's like, I'm a sponge. Tell me what I need to be doing.
Yeah.
The other place to ask for advice is for your target market. So let's say that I'm a new advisor, you're a business owner, and I want more business owner clients. I know it's a little bit contrived, or you've heard the advice before. It's almost like an informational interview.
Yes.
Who do you what would you do if you were in my shoes? But I think if you do that with the right energy, when you do it in a really genuine way, it does. Not only give them the right message that this person is actively trying to learn, trying to get better and service my target market more effectively, but it gives you things that will genuinely help you. If I'm asking you, you're the business owner, hey, what are you looking for in a financial advisor? Like, don't take this as a pitch. I just need help learning my target market. What do you seek in an advisor? Who do most of your friends who are business owners use? Why do you think they use that person?
Right.
Like, what would you do if you were in my shoes? You're trying to meet a lot of other business owners. Where would you go?
Yeah.
Like, if you do that from a really genuine place of like, I want to learn, they respond favorably to it.
Yeah, and I think your point about it has to be really genuine.
Yeah.
Like if it is a, I don't know, just a trick to now and like, well, you know what? I'd love to meet with you.
Yeah, exactly. This is an elaborate pitch.
Oh, no.
Kevin, how about your friends? Who do they use? Well, would they be open to meeting with me? How would you put me in front of them? No, this is more of like, I really want to master my target market.
Good.
That was number 4.
I like it. Number 5 here, and I don't have a specific title for this, but I would be an animal about using LinkedIn. I'm biased. I mean, I use LinkedIn every single day. And I'm not even talking about using LinkedIn and having like this set routine. I have mixed feelings about that because I see some advisors say, well, give me the 10-minute LinkedIn routine. And we've written those, we've done it. I think that if you are really into it and you really get value out of the network, you use it all the time. You're on there in the morning, you're messaging people, you're making comments, you're putting up this video content you're making, you're connecting with your target market. You are using this just like a giant networking function that's always running in the background and getting meetings out of it. And that, I mean, I use LinkedIn, some would say too much. I'm on it all the time. But can I say that we brought in business just because I'm on there? Absolutely. Right? People who see the stuff that we're putting out, people who message me, people, connecting with decision makers at different firms and then putting out content and then they message me. It's like a passive approach. I would be an animal about using this giant networking opportunity and then pulling people off of that network and building some real relationships.
Yeah, I love your point about it not being about a 10, 20-minute routine that you do every day, because that feels, and frankly, you wrote a book with that piece of advice in it.
I did. And I think I wrote that because people were like, give me the routine. Tell me just a checklist of things I got to do.
It was a bit of a, if I remember correctly, it was a bit of a time saver. Like, no, you can get LinkedIn done in 20 minutes a day,
Right.
follow this routine. And I think there's something to be said about regularity and having a consistent, process. But to your point, if you're not authentically using the network in there, interacting with people, responding to comments, you're not really using it properly.
You're not. You're just going on there to check the mark of I ran this search and I connected with 5 people, as opposed to like, no, I'm on here. I'm like a active participant in this group, and I build real relationships with people through the network. I don't think it's a routine, even though I wrote a book and have it at the end of the book, the 20-minute LinkedIn routine. I deep down don't believe that anymore. I mean, that book was almost 10 years ago at this point. I think it's part of just, hey, I'm on here all the time. I'm constantly setting up meetings and messaging people and striking up conversations.
Finally, number 6.
Number 6.
All right. This sounds a little bit harsh, but don't make excuses. And I say that, when we do newer advisor training, there's a lot of emotion involved, and I get why. It is not easy, by the way. Like all of what we're talking about here is not as if like, oh, yeah, if I were in your shoes, here's how I would just crush it. Here's how I would.
It's really easy for us to sit up here and say these things, right?
No, it's not. It is not easy to get out and build a financial services practice.
No.
It's not.
No.
And we notice there's a big difference when you're doing training for the top 25 at a given firm versus giving training for the newest 25. 2 very different audiences.
Yes.
And when you're going along that path and things aren't going exactly your way, which, by the way, they don't typically, because there's a lot of roadblocks. The person you meet at this function, they already have an advisor. This person you were referred to decides to go in a different direction.
Yep.
Your team has demands of you that pull you away from prospecting. There's tons of things that can maybe not go exactly in your way, and it's easy to get frustrated. It's easy to rationalize why you're not seeing as much success as the next person. And I think we have to be really mindful of that. We hear people make excuses about, wouldn't it have been easier back in the day when there weren't these registries you could call whoever you wanted?
Right.
Wouldn't it be better if, my team wasn't asking me to do all this? Wouldn't it be better if I was on a bigger team that was funneling me all this business like this person gets?
Right.
Like we hear every excuse. COIs, they don't refer anymore. Oh, you can't prospect this market is so small.
Yeah.
Oh, no, this market, it's hard to prospect in a big city.
Right.
Like we have heard it all. And I think we have to be really mindful of saying, you know what? It is not the environment as much as it is my own effort that's going to dictate my success. No different than when you talk to, as many of you have heard, we have young kids. They have successes and failures. When they make or don't make a team, when they make or don't make a grade, it is not the teacher's fault. It is not the coach's fault. It's your fault, bud. Work harder. And I think we can all absorb some of that. We can all, look at things with regards to what's within our control. Like what can we do to improve ourselves to get better for the next go round, the next prospect, the next, grading period, whatever it may be.
It's kind of radical accountability.
Yeah.
Right. I want to throw one bonus one on here. This is just a random bonus, and this came from a recent presentation to a group of new advisors, and it was a quick success that this advisor had, and he was really excited about it. So I had a call yesterday with this group, and we had talked about the idea of turning passive referrals into introductions. And so the previous session we had was about that topic, and in the call said, hey, you know what? I actually just met with a client and they said that their friend was going to give me a call and I never heard from them. And I was like, man, what you're going to do, you're going to call them up, right? And you're going to say, hey, for whatever reason, I never heard from them. We see this work so much better when we just get introduced personally. Can we all go to lunch? And The next session we had was, a couple days ago, and he was jazzed. I got the lunch set up. And so I think that's a really easy one, because I think what happens with new advisors is that some other people know what you're doing and they want to help. And then, by the way, I told so-and-so about you. I told them what you're doing now. I told this person what you're doing. And what I want you to do is take those and then flip them into personal introductions, not waiting for this referral to happen, but instead saying, hey, that's fantastic. I appreciate you telling other people about me. Do you think we could all grab a cup of coffee? Do you think we could all get a beer after work? Do you think we could all? I'd love to meet them that way.
Yeah, or even a joint email. Like connect the dots.
Yes.
Put the ball in my court, more or
Yes.
less.
Yeah.
And people tend to get that.
Yeah. And I think that new advisors see that. They hear those kind of things happening. And we're saying, don't be passive. Don't wait for it. Be more proactive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Love it. And hey, gang, as we said, it's not easy being a new advisor. It's not easy growing, but you got this. You've got a lot of energy and passion. You bring more to the table, I think, often than you realize. You look at some of the competition out there. There's plenty of advisors out there who aren't, they might have once been on their A game. They're not anymore. Bring that youthful enthusiasm and get after it. Kevin, question for you.
Uh-oh.
When's the last time you've tested your vertical leap?
It's been a while.
Yeah. I got put to the test last night.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Avery. He wanted to know. We were
You're
watching
the NBA
watching
combine?
basketball.
Yeah.
Wanted to know. Well, this all starts with looking up highest vertical leap ever in NBA, right? So you look it up and it's 40 something inches.
Who was it? Do you know?
Yeah, nobody famous.
Okay.
And then he's like, all right, what about the Joker, right? Nikola Jokic. Whoa. Avery's like, he's only got this much. I was like, I think it's harder than you realize. He's like, all right. So next thing you know, it's 11 o'clock at night. He should be in bed. I should be in bed too. Instead, we have the tape measure out.
Wow.
Checking his vertical and mine.
Whose
and what I
was
realized,
higher?
he beat me.
No, he didn't.
13. And I realized I'm old.
Wow.
Old.
Wow. Are you measuring from ground to how
We
high
tried to
your
do it
foot
like
goes up?
the combine, right? So you roughly.
You hit
You stand
some-
there,
yeah.
you put your hand up, we measured that and videoed it. And then we did the same thing, jumping from a standstill.
Wow.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. That
Up
is hard.
next, Kevin Vertical.
Nope, we're not doing it.
Oh,
we
man.
could go head to head.
I think, I don't like either of our chances.
So anyway, hey, thanks for joining us today for episode 120. We are going to be running a new advisor training series here in just another month or so. If you want to get in it, let us know. We'd be happy to have you.